Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she...
Was that a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's a man. Like, remember that?
Yeah, like, would Big Mike kill you for that?
Well, I think she died because she had 1,000 plastic surgeries. But...
This is Michelle Obama going after Donald Trump in such a low blow fashion. By the way, Michelle Obama, weren't you the one that says when they go low, we go high? Where's that Michelle Obama exactly? She went very, very low. So did Barack Obama. Where's the, we're not going to go to their level? Oh, Michelle Obama lying and deceiving, going after Donald Trump, saying something he didn't say. When Donald Trump was talking about black unemployment, saying he might be searching for one of those black jobs.
Michelle Obama turned being relatable into a billion-dollar empire, but Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk just pulled back the curtain on the whole act. From multi-million-dollar estates to polished life lessons, she's been packaging struggle like a luxury brand, and they're calling it out. To them, this isn't about inspiration. It's about spotlighting yourself through a Netflix-funded ego boost dressed in motivational fluff. Now, Rogan and Kirk are tearing into the myth with brutal honesty and sharp humor, poking holes in every carefully crafted contradiction. This takedown isn't just funny, it's scathing, and for many, it feels like it's been a long time coming.
Where he was saying that Michelle Obama should run for president. If she won, she could pull her out and China would just give up. I was wheezing. I couldn't breathe. Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Michelle Obama says, until recently, I've mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings. Is that a pit in my stomach? A palpable sense of dread about the future? Now, look, Michelle Obama has well-documented anxiety problems. And it's very interesting. When they are not in control of political power, they get anxiety. And being at the DNC, this for them is church. For them, this was a religious experience.
Michelle Obama enters every room like she's still the main event, even though the spotlight faded long ago. She's spent more hours on talk shows, podcasts, and streaming specials trying to prove how down-to-earth she is than most Hollywood. Stars spend rehearsing scripts, but now Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk are stepping in, loaded with sharp wit, hard truths, and enough sarcasm to light up a city. They're ready to strip away the carefully crafted image surrounding one of America's most misunderstood and highly polished motivational icons.
No. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is...
Let's begin with the career switch. Michelle Obama went from first lady to full-blown lifestyle influencer, trading policy discussions for perfectly staged book club backdrops, where she now talks about how exhausting it is to be fabulous because, apparently, when your designer wardrobe is buckling under the pressure of staying relatable, someone has to finally say the quiet part out loud. This isn't about being real, it's a Netflix production dressed up in kale and self-help buzzwords. Asterisk, asterisk.
Kale.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like, you're worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have.
Joe Rogan doesn't even have to try hard. He just lifts her latest podcast like a lab sample under a microscope. Here we have a former First Lady whose version of sparking social change now involves turning Instagram captions into life advice. And for someone who insists she doesn't crave the spotlight, she sure has a talent for chasing it down like it owes her something.
It's expensive to live in the White House, as many people don't know. I mean, much is not covered. You're paying for every food, every bit of food that you eat. You're not paying for housing and the staff in it. But everything, even travel, if you're not traveling with the president, if your kids are coming on a Bright Star, which is the First Lady's plane, we had to pay for their travel to be on the plane. It is an expensive proposition, and you're running for 2 years and not.
Charlie Kirk jumps in with the kind of sarcasm usually saved for professors who assign homework during Christmas break. Michelle wants so badly to be seen as one of us, but she can't go half a minute without reminding everyone that she's absolutely not. She's not just living in a different tax bracket, she's operating from a different planet, where grocery stores are urban legends and private chefs qualify as essential workers, asterisk.
Staff. Play cut 56.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
That's all they have. Taunt.
That's all they really need, taunting one-liners. At this point, Michelle Obama has basically become the human equivalent of a coffee table book, glossy, pricey, packed with motivational quotes nobody reads, always on display but rarely ever. Touched, Rogan can't help but laugh because it's painfully obvious Michelle's not trying to lead anymore. She's trying to influence, and not in the political sense. She's just a couple of hashtags away from dropping a skincare line called asterisk becoming beautiful asterisk. Imagine giving speeches on poverty while charging $12,000 a seat for a virtual tour on personal growth. Kirk shakes his head, watching her push a version of struggle so far-fetched even Hollywood would pass on it for being too unbelievable. It's like giving a monologue about hard times while draped in pearls inside a $12 million Martha's Vineyard mansion. Even soap operas are more consistent. She keeps insisting she's just a regular girl from the South Side, all while living like the CEO of a luxury yacht company. You can't sell stories of humble beginnings while flying private to lecture folks about their carbon footprint. Rogan drives the point home, highlighting the ridiculousness of trying to act relatable while being completely removed from ordinary life. When's the last time Michelle Obama stood in a TSA line or stressed about student debt? She's more likely to run into a unicorn than a grocery store checkout.
Outline. In fact, you know, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action.
Yeah, we see it. Kirk breaks out the numbers because facts don't flinch. Every time Michelle rolls out a new initiative, it's dressed in soft language and dusted with empathy glitter, but somehow, it always ends up boosting her fame, her fortune, and her schedule more than a Taylor Swift tour. She's on every list, most admired, most powerful, most inspiring. Yet for someone with so much supposed influence, she stays oddly silent when it comes to saying anything that truly matters. She throw her name behind a salad recipe, but won't go near actual policy even with a 10-foot selfie stick. Rogan laughs again when Michelle opens up on her podcast. It's less about raw honesty and more like a scripted reading handed to her by a brand strategist. She's perfected the art of sounding profound while keeping everything shallow, enough to stay liked by everyone. And then there's her constant craving for applause. These aren't just events, they're full-blown coronations. She takes the stage like she just solved global warming by blinking. Somehow, every single interview turns into a one-woman therapy session where she plays the patient, the doctor, and the clapping crowd all at the same time.
One side note on Michelle Obama, can we just note how overrated she is? And like all the hype around Michelle Obama, oh, she's gonna run for office, and she's just, I don't want to get into the aesthetics of all of it, but the presentation of her podcast.
Charlie Kirk goes after that polished persona with pinpoint accuracy. He's not buying the vulnerability, not when every so-called hardship story comes dressed in a tailored blazer and is followed by a promo tour, not when tales of struggle are immediately paired with sponsored by Audible. Michelle didn't just serve as First Lady. She transformed it into a full-blown brand empire: books, documentaries, speaking tour, and even a merch line that screams empowerment while charging $80 for a water bottle that probably doesn't even seal properly. She didn't exit the White House, she turned it into a franchise. Rogan can't get past the contradiction. Here's someone who spent years claiming she wanted to stay far from politics, yet now throws political shade like it's an Olympic event. She's like a referee who keeps wandering onto the field, whistle in hand, ready with opinions, and the media laps it up. Michelle drops a mildly emotional soundbite, and suddenly it's being treated like the Gettysburg Address. Meanwhile, actual intellectuals are being shadow banned for citing historical facts. But sure, tell us one more time about how invisible you felt at Princeton. Kirk rolls his eyes so hard you can almost hear it. Michelle wields her Ivy League degree like a backstage pass into every elite room, all while pretending it's some sort of burden. At this point, her story sounds less like lived experience and more like a TED Talk dressed up as trauma.
I will not run for president.
Yeah, I've heard you say I think Michelle should run.
She could win. She could win, I think. I think if she ran, she could win.
Do you ever run for office?
No.
I have to ask you.
No.
No kind of office?
No.
I don't think she wants that, though.
No,
I don't
I
think she
guess.
wants that in her life. The bull that they dealt with over the 8 years when he was president.
Because I've got these two young people at home. Being the kids, the daughters of a president, just think about it. Not so easy.
That job for anybody that really good at it.
Yeah, I trust the person who doesn't want the job more than
Yeah.
the person who wants the job.
It's not something.
Her latest tour was marketed as a message of unity, but it played more like a live audiobook titled Asterisk. Here's why you'll never be as evolved as me. Asterisk, for someone who often says, "We're all in this together." Michelle sure spends a lot of time emphasizing how far removed she is from the rest of us. Rogan points out the irony. She constantly preaches self-love, confidence, and staying true to who you are, but only if that self fits into a very specific mold. Elite approved, politically polished, and socially filtered to perfection. Anything that strays from that narrow lane is dismissed as dangerous, outdated, or just plain ignorant. Charlie refuses to let that slide. He calls out how Michelle has become the go-to moral compass for people who never leave their echo chambers. She's not just sharing her perspective every time she brings up her childhood. You can practically hear the cue for soft piano music in the background. It's less storytelling, more emotional product placement. Kirk ends with a punch. Michelle Obama has become everything she once critiqued: out of touch, heavily curated, obsessed with narrative control, and fully integrated into the very system she claims to push back against. She's not resisting the machine anymore. She's pedaling on it like a Peloton. Michelle Obama was once a symbol of change. Now she's a brand, and brands don't tell the truth. They package it into glossy, pre-approved sound bites, layer it with buzzwords, deliver it through publicists, and monetize it from every possible angle. Asterisk.
Till recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings, that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread about the future.
It's so dark. And now she's saying, now I have hope because of Kamala Harris. The apocalyptic undertones of the Democrat Party is dramatic.
Joe Rogan leans back with a grin because, really, what's more entertaining than watching someone preach authenticity while being bathed in filters, studio lighting, and perfectly rehearsed lines? And Michelle, she's far from finished. There's always another book tour, another heartfelt documentary, another slow-motion close-up where she gazes dramatically into the distance and delivers a speech on resilience while sipping tea on a $10,000 designer couch. Just when you think she's hit the ceiling of self-aware theatrics, she rolls out another poetic reflection on how hard it is to feel seen all while gracing the cover of every magazine still left on airport shelves. She enters with a polished monologue about the immense stress of living in a mansion with full staff, round-the-clock Secret Service, and a rose garden and somehow gets praised like she clawed her way out of the trenches she didn't survive. A war she survived the emotional toll of red carpet fatigue. Charlie Kirk, always the sharpest in the room, cuts through the noise with more precision than 1,000 think pieces. Michelle's entire image is constructed around branding herself as overworked, overwhelmed, and exhausted doll while being chauffeured between glam stages, sipping from custom tumblers, and cashing checks that rival federal budgets. You can't claim to be both the underdog and the establishment in the same breath unless, of course, you're crafting a modern-day fairy tale, asterisk.
You're writing a fairy tale.
I didn't even know Joe Rogan was a comedian.
You know, it's just good to see everybody having a good time. The country's almost back to normal before World War III. COVID was just so strange. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. Yeah. Before COVID, I would have told you that vaccines are the most important invention in human history. After COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. I think Pizzagate is real. I think there's direct...
And
Don't
then
get Joe started on the interviews.
Kind that
he said
shows
watching
up in
Oprah interview
perfectly lit
celebrities is like
Instagram
watching a
videos
therapist
with
host a
captions
talk
that
show
sound
on
like an
Mars.
intern-typed
She asks a
inspiring
question,
quotes
then
from
stares at you
millennials
like your
into
soul
Google.
owes her rent.
Michelle doesn't fight for causes she hovers near. Them drops a few trendy buzzwords, then sells a t-shirt that donates 3% to a foundation conveniently run by her cousin's nonprofit. This isn't grassroots, it's AstroTurf with a marketing team and a merch line. Joe Rogan chuckles again, because Michelle's idea of breaking barriers now means repackaging generic empowerment lines and reciting them like ancient wisdom. Charlie highlights the quiet contradiction. She talks endlessly about being a voice for the voiceless, yet she only ever seems to raise that voice when the crowd is already on its feet. She doesn't take bold stands, she makes timed announcements, like a stockbroker watching for market shifts. It's all theater, no backbone, no grit, just carefully staged messaging wrapped in fake humility. And let's not forget the lifestyle empire that keeps growing cookbooks, workout routines, and meal prep guides that include ingredients you'd only find in obscure European spice markets. She's turned self-care into a national campaign, pitching it like a public service announcement. But this isn't advice, it's elitism wearing athleisure. Rogan can't stop grinning at the absurdity asterisk.
At the irony.
Black woman is not enough complaining. She said that like a couple weeks ago. I mean, look, it just, I'll put that aside. If people can, that's definitely the problem in the black community, right? Not enough complaining. But anyway, to her
she's doing more than her fair share.
Oh yes, no, she's at her complaining quotient. But I guess she's talking about abortion there as if like, you know, women's health. But let me just be clear. Not a single Trump voting male in the world is ever going to be won over by complaining Michelle Obama. Just to make sure.
The same woman who once claimed to avoid politics like it was radioactive now tosses political jabs from the sidelines with the smug ease of someone who knows the media will always sweep up the mess behind her. She doesn't engage in actual dialogue. She drops carefully worded critiques like breadcrumbs and disappears before anyone can press for clarity. Charlie likens it to a queen whispering through stained glass windows, telling the peasants to rise, just don't expect her to join the march. Michelle isn't leading a movement, she's building a lifestyle brand with a motivational spin and a convenient escape hatch, and yet the applause never stops. It's a magic act that works only if the audience agrees to pretend. Joe and Charlie don't hate the hustle, they just wish she'd admit that's what it is. Stop pretending you're a reluctant cultural icon and just say what's obvious to everyone. This isn't some sacred mission, it's a career. A one-woman media empire wrapped in emotional lighting, self-importance, and carefully curated control. And the performance, it's far from over.